Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for the School for Wise tonight. And if you were with us this afternoon as well, that was great. This is the Q&A session. We'll go for about probably about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how things go. Post your questions in the chat, and I'll ask everybody here. Let me introduce who we have. So we have Carolyn Michelle Smith, who played Orant / the Notary. We have Tamara Sevunts, who played Georgette. Mirirai Sithole, who played Agnes. We have Tonya Pinkins, who was our Nolf. We have Andy Carluccio, who is our video engineer and the founder of Liminal Entertainment, which is our tech partner. We have Lena Eunice, our scenic designer. Lucy, our artistic director and the director of the show. Garth, our producer. Ari Fulton, who is the costume designer. And we have Marie Yokoyama, who was our lighting designer. Daniel Williams, who was our sound person. Madison is not here, but she is our stage manager. I believe that's everyone. Kaliswa, who played Horace. Did I miss anybody?
Chloe. You missed
Chloe, who did our translations to French. So let's start. Oh, by the way, I'm Celine. I'm the marketing associate here, and I'll be moderating the Q&A. So first question. This would be a good question for any of the actors, actually. Who do you think would these characters be in today's time? The show was kind of set in a contemporary setting, but is this how you envisioned these characters when you first read them? How did they evolve? Why don't we go to Mirirai? Do you want to take this one first?
I literally was like, don't pick me, please.
Sorry.
So, you don't have to apologize. Yeah, it's fine. So the question is, who would Agnes be now? Or
yeah. Or you can kind of expand it into how did your concept of Agnes evolve throughout the rehearsal process?
My concept of Agnes evolved. Honestly, these past 2 days have allowed me and us as collaborators, digital collaborators, to really ground it. We had like more time to ground it because a lot of the technical elements were at the forefront of process. But in talking to Lucy, like, I mean, even before the presentation we just did, this evening presentation, getting to go into a breakout room and talk about a particular scene allowed me to drop into the like reality, because it's very fun. Like, I think this play is so funny. I was giggling, notary, like everyone's so vibrant, and I really enjoyed the opportunity to do that. I've never done Molière before, and definitely haven't done it in this way. So there was so much that I was discovering based off of what the parameters were. Like, this isn't, as we know, a typical process. And so part of the process was like, okay, well, where am I looking? When am I looking? Do I need this physical notebook? So I guess the short answer is that, like, what was beautiful about the quick and dirty and like part of the process was that I could just be like, she knows nothing. She knows nothing until she knows what she knows. And then once she knows what she knows, now she's kind of mad about what she didn't know before. You know, so it was really lovely to be able to kind of be embodying this character that is naive or dumb, or, you know, has this innocence, because it allowed a freshness of perspective each time, and to allow the information from Horace, from Arnaud, from everybody to come to me, and then to like be like, oh man, it's all a lie. And now I know more. So, and I think actually, unfortunately, many young women go through that, of like just not being given all the clues for their success. And then once they're given that, it's like, darn, I wish I knew this beforehand. Maybe I would have, you know, gone towards my dreams and my love beforehand. But yeah.
Yeah.
That was beautifully put. Why don't we go to your character's love interest, Oras, played by Kaliswa Brewster. Same question. How did your character evolve over the rehearsal process, and kind of how do you envision that character today?
Yeah, I mean, I totally am agreeing with what Mirirai said, because the reality is, like, we made leaps and bounds, like learning how to use this tech. Liminal's amazing, and it's just like a step. I've done all 3 of the productions, and every time it's been like, oh, now we have this. Oh, they literally sent us computers, and I have lights and cords and whatever. And so the tech becomes like another element. And as far as like character development, a couple of things I learned, and I think I learned them not by making head choices, but just by playing. Like, number one, the first thing that I learned right away is that like Oras is like a puppy of excitement, and just a puppy of excitement and going for what they want. Coming back to that, like, who is this character in the regular world? Like, when I learned that it was an all-women cast and like a Black-led cast, we didn't really have time to discuss what that was, but in playing it, I decided that I didn't want to like put on a man. So then it was like, well, duh, there's like a rainbow of different types of gender. So this is what non-binary looks on me as Oras in this world. And what I found really freeing about that, and honestly really useful too, was that it just meant that I could just go for whatever I wanted. So if what I wanted was to like connect with Arnoff, went for it. If what I wanted was like to just like love on Yes, like I get to go for it and not think about what gender might look like. And I have to say that that is really useful in the way that we did this process, because there wasn't a lot of time for thinking. So character and experience like matched in that way for me.
Awesome. Thank you. So that's a kind of a good segue into our next question, which is about the technology part of everything. How has the technology evolved since our last production of Tartuffe, and even since the first one with the Misanthrope? Maybe Andy, you can take this one. Andy is the video engineer and kind of the leading force behind all of this, all of the technology part of this.
It's very kind of you, Celine, and it's been such a pleasure to collaborate once again with Molière in the park. I would say that, you know, this is the first production that we've deployed our Streamweaver technology on, and Streamweaver is something that we've created in-house specifically for live online performance. And so we were able to add to this show HD audio and video, as well as lighting transmission, the DMX protocol. So that means this, and this, to my knowledge, is the first live event that has had actual lighting design by our lovely Marie, our lighting designer, who just did a fabulous job with this tool, and I'm really humbled that you were the first to use it and took it as far as you did. So we had live lighting design, live sound mixing. Daniel did an incredible job receiving all the mics and the audio into a board and sending it to us. That's a new technology that we haven't been able to deploy before. And our cast did such an incredible job setting up their own setups. We sent them these hardware kits in the mail that they set up the computers, they set up the cabling and lighting instruments and the sound equipment and their cameras, and they did all of that. And I'm so incredibly grateful that this is the team that we got to do it with, because you took the ball and you ran with it, and you gave us just an incredible performance, but also an incredible generosity of self to be able to do all that for us. So it was a huge step forward for us. We are thrilled to see what the future brings now that we've proven that something like this can happen. And we continue our gratitude to all of you and to Molière in the park for pushing what can happen live in this medium. And we're so happy to be behind the technical elements.
All right. Thank you so much, Andy. And thank you for all of that you've done for us. Let's go to this question. This can be for a couple of the actresses. Kaliswa already touched on this a little bit, but how did some of the actresses approach playing traditionally male characters? Were there things that inspired those performances? Tonya, would you like to take this one and start?
Well, what was the question again? How do we approach the characters being male? You know,
Yeah.
I think we're all everything. There's a gender fluidity that just is a human. And so I didn't ever think about gender. We were just human beings who had wants and desires. And I think that they go across the span of the spectrum of humanity.
All right. I love that. Are there any other actors that'd like to chime in on that? Or so I can't really see everybody at once, so I don't know if you're saying.
Carolyn, go for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely agree with Tonya. I mean, I love the freedom of being able to be human, just as she said, because I do believe that, you know, even if conscious or unconscious, we are really all a spectrum. We're the amalgam of our ancestors. And so we're everything, right? And I think while playing with this, the best part of discovering, especially as it was such a short process, you know what I mean? We had a chance to really just kind of go on the fly. So I was trying to think a lot about how to make distinctions between like the notary and orant, and I was like, okay, what can I do to make them different? But then just like imagery would start coming to me. So actually during a sound session with Daniel earlier today, which I confessed to him, which is actually legit true. I said, I really feel like the notary is a cross between Jan Van Zandt and Ron Cephas Jones. Because
I confirm that.
Why not? Like, it's possible. We are all things. So yes, to me, it's about merging worlds always.
Amazing.
I'll be thinking about that a long time.
It was so perfect.
And by the way, Celine, I want to give a special thanks to the West Coasters and Tonya. I don't know if people realize, but Tanya's call times were 2 a.m. and 8 a.m. In Korea. And Mirirai and Carolyn's call times were 11 a.m. and 4 on the West Coast. So a little breakfast theater there and a little middle of the night theater there. So Korea, Los Angeles, Corey and Tamara up in Canada. So and we all brought it together. So just thank you in general for everything. Anyway, you can continue, please, Celine.
Of course. So I know Emily, our animator, isn't here right now, but maybe Lena, since you probably worked with her a little bit, and Andy, if you guys could maybe tackle this question. What inspired some of the animations? How were the sets and the animations made this time around? Because they're a lot different than they were in our last couple productions.
Hello.
Lena, yeah.
It was a very fun experience in exploring what comes from Emily and what comes from the ideas that Lucy is bringing forth to it, and also trying to create a visual language that can go into the actual sets of the performance and the different locations. So we created this collage mode that we run home with, and try to figure out these things accordingly. And Agnes, her character, allowed us to bring out the flowers and use that, and for her to be blooming in the eyes of Arnulf, and follow her journey across. So it was a mixture that Andy created for you to see, also facilitated. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun, and I got to say that you've had a very humble take on that, Lena. You've done such an incredible job with this medium. You looked at it and immediately identified what was going to be strong and what the design needed to help usher. And you, Emily, Ari, everybody, Daniel, and of course Lucy, have just looked at this medium and really nailed what has to happen in it. And I couldn't have been more thrilled about how that came out.
All right, and kind of building on a little bit of that and how this medium is evolving, this kind of hybrid theater film medium in a way. Someone asks, I do miss the whole body gestures of actual theater. Do you think there's a way to have some of that online? How do you, and kind of generally, where do you see this form of theater going in the future? Since it seems like we're definitely going to be doing this for the next several months. Lucy, do you want to take this?
Sure, although I think Andy's going to have to chime in, because from the technological aspect, I think he has the imagination to project us in the future and give us the tools to do that. So, I mean, at this point, yes, it is true that we're I don't know. I have to take a few steps back. I have to say first that I think what we tried to do at MIP when we had to pivot to online theater is make sure that we could remain live and sort of keep a live aspect to the shows that we were doing. And so our commitment was to try to figure out how to bring all of the elements of theater that are so important to us, text, actors, design, lights, sets, sound, visuals, and bring that all into this space and continue to provide that to our audience, even though we have to do it through this medium. I have found over the course of the month, costumes, of course, as well, I have found that there is something also really exciting about being able to bring this kind of text and theater and talent across the globe through the internet, something we could not do, certainly at our level as Molière in the Park here in Brooklyn. But even, there's so many people around the world who can't get to Broadway, or who can't get to, the off-Broadway theater that they want to go to. And so maybe there's a way that now we can, with this technology, bring them something, which to me is very exciting. Now, going back to the idea of, seeing full bodies on camera. Yes, I think that's in the future, very close. It's there, it's right there. We will be there. We will be there very soon. I mean, I think Andy's already knows already, of course, how to do it. We have to learn how to do it at Molière in the Park, and we have to find a way also to have more time with our actors. Right now, we're operating on contracts that allow us to work only for a very limited amount of hours with our incredibly talented cast. If we could do a full 3 weeks, 4 weeks rehearsal process and have them all be off book and use maybe 2 cameras versus 1, this would be, a whole different show. I mean, not a different show, just an expansion of this very show. So it's coming. Just hang in there. We'll be there soon.
All right. I'm excited for the future of it. Let's, another question for the actors. I think, Tamara, do you want to take this? I don't think you've spoken yet. About what do you see as an actor doing this? Like, can you see yourself and the other actors in the background? Do you see like what the audience sees? How does that all work?
So you see your script, and then you have the Zoom. Well, the way that I have my screen set up is I have my script and then my Zoom set up, and Andy kind of patches in what the actual feed looks like, but we're getting that at a delay. So it's kind of only a point of reference. So you're really only acting with a voice in your ear and the wonderful camera lens, and sneaking cheeky glances to your script and trying to make it look as seamless as possible. So that's kind of, it's weird. It feels like you're in a bubble because you are isolated in your room. And yet, there's this whole world happening in front of you, and there's a story being told. So
I think actoring is going to become the term for what you do on Zoom.
Yeah.
That's good.
Anybody else want to jump in on that?
I'm just looking at script. I don't see the Zoom. I don't see anything. I just have a script. That's it. Got text.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of text. How about you, Cristina?
I have little corner screens of everything. So I'll see the bottom of Zoom so I can quickly unmute or put the video on or off. And then the script is on the top half. And that's it. And most of the time it's just script and knowing that I can easily access the rest. But it's just looking right into this camera. I'm like, script, and then turn off my video. I'm done.
Okay. I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions. I'd like to hear from Ari about the costume design. How was designing for this type of show, like online, everything different from, you know, a normal live in-person production? And then what was kind of your inspiration for your designs?
Yeah, this was really challenging to do in a virtual setting. You know, my hat goes off to all of the actors for being so cooperative with really sort of doing their own fitting, coming up with solutions, problem solving. So I know a lot of times people use the metaphor of the calm duck on the top of the surface and on the bottom, you know, you're fiercely paddling. I think that's what this whole production has been, us fiercely paddling as we're presenting this to you. So that was a huge challenge. Thank God we live in the modern age where you can order. But yeah, so that was the biggest challenge. Also, there's tons of international people in the cast. I think like half the cast is international, or at least not in New York. So just coordinating delivery. As a costume designer, you're always trying to be tactile, work with the clothing that you do get to embellish it. So yeah, that was the hardest part. This was a hugely collaborative experience. One of the most collaborative experiences I've ever had, to not be in the room with the other designers and Lucy. So I think that it was very good for me to develop the characters with the actor, with Lucy, with Leah. So it's been great.
All right, thank you so much. I love the costumes, and I got to see some of them in person briefly. So
yes, thank you, Celine.
Of course. Daniel, we haven't heard from you. You are our board op. How was this different from another in-person production, controlling the board, and how did all that go?
I'm going to blow your mind. This is the first large cast theater production I've ever done. I'm used to working with much smaller teams on things that I do, things like, you know, small films or podcasts and stuff like that, you know, making records for bands and stuff. The teams are much smaller. So just working, there are so many people on my screen right now, and that in itself is can be overwhelming at times. You're like, there's a lot of people to interact with. And making sure that everyone gets kind of the feed they need, or making sure that the mics are placed when you can't go and just say, I can do it. Just let me put the mic on for you, you know. And there's a lot of trust here, and everyone did so well. You know, just clipping on a mic can be difficult at times when it doesn't want to function like you want it to function. And I'm, you know, hundreds and hundreds of miles away from everybody, so. That was fun. It was stressful, but it was fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all your work.
The shade.
Just a note that Daniel is actually controlling sound from St. Louis, Missouri.
That's true.
I just want to say Daniel was so everyone was very patient. Everyone was very patient. I think it's clear that we all desire community, collaboration, and art. And just what Daniel said, I'm laughing because, like, I was one of those folks who was like, here? Like, here? Or where? No? So thank you for your patience,
you nailed
everybody.
It sounded great.
Okay.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. So I'll throw this one at Lucy and Garth. what do we have any plans? Does Molière in the Park have any plans for the future of what we're doing, our next show, and next year? And also, how is this funded?
What was that last part? How is this what?
Funded.
Funded. All right, Lucy, you want to go first?
Okay. So what the first part of the question was, what are our plans? Well, our plans are to, I think we have really now two plans. We have two avenues. One of them is, when can we get back in the park, and when can we do live theater again, and when can we be in the presence of the community that we want to be in the presence with. What am I trying to say? Yes, you know what I'm trying to say. But so that's one thing. So we are building and raising funds to try to do a production in May in the park. I mean, we have the advantage of being outdoors. The space that we perform in is completely, we can conceive of it the way that we want to. So if we have to embrace social distancing measures and health security measures, we can. So I think there is potential for us to be able to put a production up in May in the park in Brooklyn. On the other hand, you know, it seems clear to us that we are also going to be doing this for a long time, and we actually love doing this. There's something about this that feels really exciting and really fun, and so we want to do more. We do have another production online that is planned for mid-December. It's a play not by Molière, a play by the incredible Cristina Anderson. Her play is called Penmanship, and we will be doing it on this format mid-December, and please join us for that. It's an incredible play. It's a step for us because as Molière in the Park, we never thought that we always thought in the back of our minds that we would be embracing contemporary writers at some point, but we're doing it way sooner than we thought we would. And I think our focus is language, and Cristina's language is unbelievably beautiful and poetic and rhythmical in the way that Molière's language is, and also how to use plays that are set in the past to think about who we are in the present. And that play, Cristina's play, Penmanship, does that. And so that is why we chose it, and we are so pleased that we will be presenting it. So now, what about you, Garth? What do you have to add?
Well, you think you said it most. Where did we get funded from, I think was the other question, Celine. And yes, we are dedicated to free theater for everybody. So that means we never charge tickets, we never charge for access, and so we rely on donations. So if you're still there, I think there are 299 of you still sticking around for this Q&A. Go and donate at MolièreInThePark.org right now, because that's how we survive, and that's how we continue to provide free theater for everybody. And when I mean everybody, I mean we've had people joining us from England, South Africa, Japan, a few places. So in addition to the States and Canada and South Korea, we've had people all over the globe being able to experience this live theater, and it's live theater with us. So that's how we survive and subsist. And I think, Celine, if you don't mind me, I would love to hear from Marie, and then I would also like to hear from every actor person, just like a quick 10 or 15 seconds of something that they found completely surprising about their experience on this production, or what they would take away from it. So I think we should do like a hot potato thing. So after Marie, just pick somebody that would go next.
Oh boy. So I think the thing I learned is, like, you know, when we're working as a designer in a union house, we all can focus on just designing. And this whole experience has been very humbling, because honestly, this experience, like this show, is 5% lighting design, but 95% collaboration. And it really goes back to the root of why I started theater, and a lot of us started theater, you know, like we all wanted to create something together. So it's been a very humbling experience, and that is my takeaway. Oh, passing, who am I passing to? I don't know who hasn't gone.
Corey?
Oh.
So many people.
Yeah. I was trying to think about this, and I think it's the combination between a technology that I only know about but don't have a lot of experience, hands-on experience with, but a familiarity with how to make plays. And so putting those two things together, the amount of ease and patience and skill building that was really uplifting and actually supported how we all got together. And that was surprising to me in this remote capacity. So I thank you for that.
Okay, slide it on. Who's next?
Cristina.
You're
Nope.
muted.
I just unmuted and then muted myself again. I think the most lovely thing in this whole new platform has been much of the same as what Corey said, of being able to incorporate so many skill sets just in a kind of a shifted way, and that same patience and respect that you bring to all the work, or rather, let me not speak for everyone, the same patience and respect that I bring to anything I do, and allowing that same energy to live even beyond the screen, like how that communicates, how that reaches, and just fascinated by it all, and knowing that, you know, we're here to just tell a story and have fun, and yeah, to breathe and let it be, because something's gonna happen. Just lean into it. And I'm gonna pass it to Tonya.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I don't know how to see it because I really didn't see any of it, but I know that as we were making it, I kept thinking, you know, I'm here in Korea editing a film, and I've been filming a lot of the theater that I've been producing, but I started thinking about how to take this technology and actually almost work with it cinematically. Like, as I was trying to stay actively alive in performance here, even though I didn't know if I was on camera. And so much in film is visual, and this is very language driven. But I kept thinking, if we're not both on camera, you know, some of the humor is in the fact of what characters are hearing someone else said. So I don't know how much that got translated because I haven't seen it. And so I kept thinking about, you know, how do you honor this beautiful language, but cinema, you know, people win awards for when they're listening, not for when they're talking. So just thinking about how you start to work that, and is it multiple screens, or, you know, I'm interested in the way you could use this technology, cinematically.
Yeah.
And Tonya, can you tell us the name of your movie that you're working on?
Oh, my movie is Red Pill. Red Pill. It's our Red Pill movie 2020. It's the movie about what we're living right now.
Yeah, I saw a bit of what I can't wait to see it, and y'all better understand you need to see it when it comes out. So Tonya, who do you want to slide it to?
I'm sliding it to Kaliswa.
Hi, okay. Hello. One tidbit. So Marie, when she was speaking, really spoke to me because this process was very humbling, but I honestly think in the best way. And when, you know, the first show today was like one of the first times we got to run it completely uninterrupted because we had a time we had to do it. And in that one, I was like, wow, I can't read. Like, I have to read this script and these words are not coming out of my mouth. I have one job. My job is to read. I can't read. And then you have to go through the, oh my God, it's between shows. How am I going to be better? But just thinking about how really and truly this is not about me. It's not about us. It's about the fact that we are all these different people in all these different time zones going through whatever we've gone through in this pandemic, and we get to show up. I'm gonna start crying. We get to show up for an hour and a half and play, and people who knows what their lives are get to join us. That honestly to me is a gift, and I'm really humbled by it. So I will never stop being humbled by that.
Got to have it one more second, Kaliswa, because I started thinking, once the union shit gets worked out, I could perceive a time when people aren't reading, that
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
memorized.
I
And then
agree.
that's a
Yes.
whole nother thing going
Yeah.
on, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Boy,
I've
imagine that.
Mirirai.
My love, not mine. You don't belong to me. The word that keeps coming to mind while I've been listening to all these wonderful creatives, some of whom I've had the privilege of working with in the old world, and many of whom have never met before, is trust. That I didn't foresee like how much trust, one, that Molière in the Park had in us, that Liminal had in us. Like, y'all shit, I don't know how much this costs. We'll talk about that later. But like
I got a price for you. We'll talk offline.
We'll talk offline, okay? But the you know, and when we were setting up these systems, this film set that I'm on, I was in full anxiety, like, and I didn't know how to show up and be kind, because I knew that like people were like, this is the time that we're taking it to help you step by step, plug this in to that thing. And like, I truly have not at my big age felt this kind of trust and care in process, especially as someone who like knows where my anxiety lives and like will be as direct as possible, but like try to like quell it with my questions. I've felt more held than I have ever, trying not to cry, and now my words are gone. But yeah, the amount of trust with equipment, the trust that we could figure out all the plugs that needed to be plugged in, and that we had to build it together, like Kaliswa said, like multiple time zones, multiple narratives about what's going on in our lives outside of this. And for those who care, like Mercury retrograde, you know what? You know what I mean? Like there's just so much at play, and like to steal from Kaliswa, like, and here we get to play. And I know I want to do my best. And so to remind, like, it always felt like a reminder that everyone is doing their best. Mm-hmm. Everyone is doing their best. And to feel that in a room digitally is sadly doesn't happen often, but I was so grateful. I am so grateful to have been able to feel that trust, that presence, that grace, for when things do get sticky, in process as we figure it out, and that we're here smiling, and truthfully, like, we're here smiling and it's real. It's real. I think, you know, it feels really good to not just be like, yeah, we're smiling because we're at this talk back. It's like, no, like we did a thing and we did it together. And how beautiful. So thank you, Molière in the Park and Liminal and crew. And I'll pass it to Tamara.
Hey. Yes to the smiling, yes to the gratitude. And also I think my takeaway is like, hey, I can set up my own space and I won't die from it. It's like, and I know how to detangle wires now. And I feel like in terms of expanding your, I think like ushering in this time, artists have to do everything. And I think that everybody on every level here has to do everything. And I think that, you know, being in a space where you actually have the opportunity to learn how to do everything and not just be expected to know how to do it is extraordinary. And I'm tremendously, tremendously grateful to the entire Molière in the Park team for that. Oh, I have to pass it on. Carolyn!
Yes, you slide it.
Carolyn!
Okay, yes. I'm feeling a lot of the feelies too, Mirirai. I'm feeling a lot of the, ooh, you know, I think that just like, you know, just in classic talkback style, to piggyback off of what so many of you all have shared, I'm so grateful that we have not only have the opportunity to really like learn this new technology to be able to play within it, but then it also reminds me of, good Lord, how adaptive the human spirit is, like how adaptive we as artists, when you think of generations before us, like, and that we do know of an old world and that we're entering this new world, and what it means to be able to truly say yes and in every capacity, both artistically and technically. So grateful for the opportunity to learn more. Truly felt delight in the moment between shows where I was like, oh wow, this is my stage, my apartment. You know what I mean? And just to be able to share, I think there's something in the generosity of what we do that the giving gives back. So it's really lovely. So thank you guys. This is really awesome. And
who are you sliding it to?
Sliding it to Corey.
I pick Andy.
I gotta say, I think for me, the big takeaway, I learned a lot about time and how and its mutability, and that, you know, it was so crazy to me. It was just a real experience. And I think somebody in the call, I forget who picked up on it. Maybe it was you, Garth. That like when the sun was setting here on the East Coast, it was rising for Tonya, and that was just like a shocking moment to me to realize, like, oh wait, yeah, this is, you know, it's all the way around the world. And at a technical level, a huge part of what Streamweaver does is deal with time and you know, the clock that the cast is on so that they can hear each other, and the clock that the production team is on, the sound team is on. I learned a lot about that, and then there's like this sort of an intimacy in that between the different spaces that everybody occupied, and then it transcended into all of your incredible patience, of course. You know, watching like this piece sort of be cradled through the real-time work that you all did, and then passing it through to each other and really around the planet. This piece takes place all over the world simultaneously, and it created a single moment out of what was truly a several seconds, or 20-30 seconds, and you brought all of that through your performance down into one moment, and that blew my mind, and it's something that I'm definitely going to carry forward. You're time travelers.
Yes. I remember it wasn't so much that, oh, look at Tonya over there. We're going dark, she's going light. I think we started saying, yeah, we're passing the sun off to you. Like it was like we were still that close, even though you were literally on the other side of the planet, which was kind of dope. Andy, who are you going to slide it to next? I know we're running low on time.
I'm going to slide it to you, Garth.
Oh, I think everybody heard enough from me. I want to hear from people who the final wrap up. I think Lena.
All right.
Yeah, my favorite part of this is that I get to share it with my parents, and they don't have to come here or go through interesting experiences to get here and watch it. So I had the opportunity to share it with a lot of people, and also bring it forth with everybody's force, and Lucy driving the train, and we're on board and just getting through all these obstacles and building the track as we go, and steering and sometimes flying. So that was a really fun experience. And also I feel that I think in the second performance at 7 p.m. I had a better understanding of how we relate as people in this world to the characters that are mirroring us, and because of this extreme closeness to us, we understand them also, and so this form of theater is able to reach us non-tangibly, and I find that very fascinating and exciting. Yeah, and I pass it to Daniel.
Oh boy, what did I learn? I learned so many different kinds of things. I learned new software programs that I had never touched before. I learned how to deal with new technology. I learned how to I feel like interact with different and new kinds of people. I've never really like interacted with people that have a lot of stage experience. I've never dealt with a director before. Like just the types of personalities, the types of like interactions that different people have. That are well out of my wheelhouse. It's been a wild ride, and all of the ups and downs and the stress that we all faced, I'm very grateful for it. It's been interesting. Is that everyone? Was I the last to go? Is there anyone left?
That was the best, Daniel. Like you expanded your whole identity.
My mind was just blown this whole, experience. It's crazy.
Daniel, Ari, and Lucy.
Okay, well, Ari, please. I pass it to you.
The question is, what have I learned on this project?
Or what will you take away from it?
What will I take away from it? Collaboration. I think that's one of the big things that I take away from it. Collaborating, not necessarily in the rehearsal room or, in a coffee shop, but learning how to collaborate virtually. I think as we push forward in this new world, that's going to be something that we all need to put in our toolbox. Yeah, I think that that's the biggest thing. I think that as a designer, you learn so much about body language, being in the fitting room with actors, and you don't have that to sort of feel people out. So it's kind of, the screen is limiting, but at the same time, it's very, like you're in someone's house. You can see each other's personal space. It's a weird feeling of being limited access to the person, but then you're the most intimate with them at the same time. So that's interesting to learn how to navigate in the new future.
All right, Lucy, why don't you take it home? Oh, go ahead. What's up, Ari?
Who am I passing it to? Sorry.
I think Lucy's left, and we'll probably wrap it up from there.
Take it away, Lucy.
Thank you. I'm going to bring it back to Molière. I like to think that this play was written in 1663, I think.
Wow.
And here we are today, saying these words and connecting to them and coming together and creating an incredible experience around words that were written so long ago. And to me, it means so much because, I'm French, and I don't know, it just makes me think a lot about who we are as people and how we talk to each other and how we all belong to one, how we can all be unified and how we can all be together and how we can listen and hear and have compassion and empathy and humanity and how we all share something. And I just want to continue to bring that into the world. So thank you so much to all of you.
All right. Well, that I think wraps it up. Thank you to everybody who joined us and who stayed for the Q&A. Thank you to our fabulous team of creatives and artists and actors and tech people and everybody. And join us for Penmanship December 12th. The recording of this will be available through the 28th of October until 2 p.m. Eastern time. And it'll go up later tonight, YouTube willing. So thank you to everybody. Donate, and we can't wait to see you in December.